What is up, everybody? This is Alex from IGTV. Today I'm talking about this weird little movie, The Sheep Detectives. I say little, but it's got a whopping $75 million budget. I thought this looked pretty terrible from the ads and everything I saw about it, but I had a few people asking me to review it and set aside the idea that Amazon was pulling the wool over our eyes and gave it a fair shot and enjoyed myself with it. It's basically Hot Fuzz for babies. Been watching a few movies lately that have CG animals in them, whether it be Animal Farm or Disclosure Day. And Disclosure Day is a funny comparison because the one complaint everyone agrees with that movie is that the animals looked awful, the CG animals. You can't really complain about that with this movie. The CG on the sheep look incredible to a point where you just kind of forget that they're even CG. And they have a nice combination of occasionally using real animals in the same shots or scenes with the sheep, and they're well animated and fit into the environment. Because a lot of the time with these kids movies that are so heavily reliant on CG, I just wonder to myself, why isn't this just animated? And outside of some of the plainness or the kind of flat lighting in the film, the choice for them to be CG just makes sense and is a fun way to tell the story. It's very obviously directed by an ex-Illumination director. I say ex, well, I should just say someone who previously directed Illumination films, because those films love to go for cute, broad family tones. And this director, Carl Balder, directed Weenie. Auteur director of Banana, but also Rise of Gru, Despicable Me 3, Minions 2015. A bunch of garbage, really. So this is quite a step up, based on an early 2000s novel, and weirdly dark for how young of an audience this is being aimed at. It's still a murder mystery. It's very much a whodunit, kind of self-aware, Knives Out sort of tone, which is hilarious to say about this film. There are moments where it will get genuinely dark and contemplative and explore the nature of death in a way that is appropriate for children, maybe a little bit intense for really young kids, but it balances its tone pretty well because most of the time it is a silly comedy in this cute, small English town, much like, as I said, Hot Fuzz. And I gotta say the corniness did kind of work for me, because it is heartfelt and sincere, and everyone seems to be having a good time on set and kind of hamming it up and chewing the scenery. I thought these two characters were probably my favorite. I need to see this guy in more stuff, because I love his screen presence ever since I first saw him in Game of Thrones. He's really sweaty in this picture. But he plays a butcher, and this dude's a rival farmer. The whole cast of characters fills the whodunit kind of tropes. And there's some really good casting in here, and some surprise appearances, particularly from the Yanks in the cast, like Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the main sheep, and Bryan Cranston is the ram. I thought they did a good job with their characters, even though it's like set in this small British town. Like, having Irish voices doesn't stand out, having a Kiwi accent doesn't really stand out. But the main distraction casting-wise was Greg being in there.
You can't make a tomlet without breaking some Gregs.
He's the main police officer of the town, the joke that there's like one police officer, and he's doing this really bad British accent that a lot of Americans tend to do when they're like told to attempt to do a British accent, and it's like, this accent doesn't come from anywhere, you're just doing this weird cartoonish parody of a nowhere voice. I think in general, British actors are way better at doing American accents than the other way around. But the character is funny, he's got some good jokes, his physicality is good, this tall, like, lanky dude is funny, I just can't get over that awful accent. The screenplay was written by Craig Mazin, who just has such an interesting, weird journey through Hollywood. His body of work is all over the place. Like, apparently he tightened up the scripts on both Dune movies. We'll whip out something like Chernobyl, but then his early career is just this awful string of, like, terrible comedies. But fair play if that's how he leveraged his way into this awful industry and managed to get to a point where he can work on stuff that's more quality. I thought the music was way too much and too baby, but it at least knows its target audience, which isn't particularly me, because obviously Hot Fuzz is my preferred movie, or a Knives Out. But this was surprisingly good, I didn't feel fleeced. While the visual effects are amazing, I did mention there is this weird synthetic style to the movie where it's like they're not allowed to have shadows anywhere and everything's kind of overexposed to a degree. I don't know if that was to make the CG look better or what the creative choices were there to make it kind of feel a bit more cartoony or what. I liked how it's mostly dialogue. It's not like a bunch of action. There are a couple kind of sequences, but it's weirdly character-led, and whodunits are just a fun structure to try and guess and follow. Yeah, this was decent. I don't know if I'd rush back to watch it again, but it was quaint, charming, it was making me laugh. I felt some emotion at a couple of points, especially with the Bryan Cranston character. Nice message at the heart of it. A nice little surprise that I would give a healthy 3-star with a like. Check it out if any of that sounds interesting to you. It was nowhere near as bad as it looked. Haha.